All right, good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining me. Go ahead and get started here. If you got your questions, go ahead and post them. Should be below the video if you're on a smaller screen, or to the right of the video if you are on a larger screen. So we'll go ahead and get started here with Mark V. So Mark V says, I find it easier to preset bowing in left wrist at setup. To me, this is one less thing to think about. Yeah, that's completely fine to do. That's basically what Dustin Johnson does, right? So Dustin Johnson kind of, basically his trigger move is to basically kind of set that wrist and then kind of tries to keep it there throughout the swing. Now it does vary, but he's trying to kind of keep that wrist angle constant throughout the swing. So yeah, it's a completely fine thing to do if that works fine for you. Lots of different ways to do it for sure. So Don H says, I'm thinking of buying a Mevo Plus to get more value out of my indoor practice area. Do you think the price is worth it? Yeah, I like the Mevo Plus. I think it's a good device. I think it really depends on what you're trying to do. If you have the space for it, it does require some space. I think you have to have, so many feet behind it to put it, and then it has to see so much of the ball flight to get some accurate reading. So yeah, but I think it's a great device. I think of all of the, the consumer, the ones that are, not necessarily for instructors, but the ones that are for like kind of home simulators, it's probably one of the better ones out there, if not the best one, as far as bang for your buck. But if you're just looking to work on some club head speed, things like that, don't care about the simulator, then I think the PRGR is a really good bang for your buck too. But if you're looking to kind of get the simulator experience and kind of go all out with it a little bit, then I think that the Mevo Plus is definitely a good option. So Tom D says, do you have a drill for continuing the backswing while shifting weight pressure to the forward foot at the same time? When I shift my weight and turn my hips toward the target during the backswing, it seems that I also start the downswing then as well, and I just end up with a shorter backswing. So the step drill is really the best drill for working on for working on that move. So one thing you want to think about is I would equate it to other, because really what the golf swing is it's just a powerful athletic movement, right? Or you want it to be, right? So what is that equivalent to? Well, so I would maybe equivalent, if that's a word. I would basically kind of equate that to throwing a ball, throwing a pitcher in baseball, right? So when they're winding up, their arm is going back as their body is going forward. Same thing's happening in the golf swing, right? We're loading up, and then as we're loading up in the backswing, right, I'm shifting to my lead side. So basically, you want to feel like your back is to the target as you're shifting your weight to your lead side, and then I push into the ground and turn through. So I think most people have thrown a ball or something like that, or thrown a frisbee, or throwing something. The golf swing is a very similar movement. The golf swing is not that. It's there's some flow to it. You want to get some change in direction. So the step drill, I think is the best drill to kind of help you to work on that. So the step drill is in many videos on the website. Most notably, the 20-minute distance fix. It's in there because it's a key to getting distance. So if you want to check that out, the 20-minute distance fix and the sumo step drill from the 20-minute distance fix, click the instruction tab, then click the 20-minute distance fix, and then it's the second outdoor drill in the week 1 materials is the sumo step. So Rick T says, what are the causes and cures of chicken winging and getting that nice straight arm extension? So first we want to understand that not all chicken winging is necessarily bad. So if you're chicken winging and you're still nailing the top speed golf system, then I honestly wouldn't worry about it at all. And trying to get that lead arm straight all the way through contact would most likely be more detrimental, and would maybe, from an aesthetic standpoint, you might like it a little bit more, but it's not necessarily going to make you better at golf. So I'd be a little bit careful when trying to work on chicken winging. So good examples of chicken winging when it's not an issue would be this weekend's past winner, Jordan Spieth, right? Jordan Spieth has a chicken wing right? As he comes through contact, he's like this, but you can see he's nailing all the pieces of the top speed golf system, right? Brooks Koepka, chicken winging. Lee Westwood, chicken winging. Angel Cabrera, chicken winging. There's a lot of great players out there that are, multiple major championship winners that are chicken winging. So I'd be careful with looking at the chicken wing and trying to fix the chicken wing if it's not really an issue. And if you're nailing the top speed golf system, releasing the club out in front, and doing all the pieces of the top speed golf system, and the chicken wing is part of it, then I wouldn't even worry about it. Beyond that, if it is the bad chicken wing, the chicken wing, that is caused by a lack of rotation of the body. Because what's happening here is why, your arm is folding up, right? Well, why is your arm folding up? Well, because that lead shoulder is stopping and the arm's got to go somewhere to go. It has to have somewhere to go, right? So if I'm coming through and I stall my rotation, and then my club's got to keep going, right? So I'm going to end up kind of chicken winging through contact because my shoulder stops. So what you have to work on is better rotation, right? Getting your body to rotate through impact better, right? Because if I keep my body rotating, well, then I can have my arms longer and going out away from me through contact. So if that is the case, then like I said, you have to work on getting your body rotating and looking at, well, why is my body not rotating? So there's lots of reasons why that could be. There's two main reasons. So the first reason is the face is open, right? So if the face is open, then what will typically happen is we'll stall our body in an effort to square up the face, right? And when we stall our body, that's when the chicken wing comes from. So it's kind of like a domino effect. The face is open. The way I'm looking to square it up is to stall my body, early release the club, let my hands kind of fold up in as I'm coming through. So getting the face more closed, right? Using a stronger grip, bowing that lead wrist more, getting the face more closed will actually incentivize you to be able to rotate your body more into contact and get the handle more in front and not stall and fold up the arms, right? Because if you got the face more closed, stronger grip, stronger wrist angles, bowed lead wrist, right? If I were to stall my body in chicken wing, well, my face would be really, really close, and I would hit it a mile to the left. So if you get the face more closed, you're going to be incentivized to rotate more, get the hands more in front to square up the face. Otherwise, it will be too close. The other typical thing to stalled body rotation is a steep shaft. So what that means is as we're coming down in the downswing, this shaft is more vertical. Well, what I typically will do to get this club back on plane is I will stall my body and thrust my hips forward, right? And if I do that, well, now that changes the pitch of the shaft, and now I got to flip at now I have to flip at the club, and I get that chicken wing again, right? So those are the two most common causes of that. So what you have to define is what the root cause of the issue is, which is lack of rotation, and then what the root cause of the lack of rotation is, and then work on that specifically. Now, there is a course out there that addresses both of those issues, the face being too open and early releasing the club to square it up, and then the shaft being steep and having to stand up and stall early release to get the club back on plane. And that is the 20-minute shadowing fix. So that's what I would look at, is the 20-minute shadowing fix, most likely to get you on track. Beyond that, there's just so many different things that could be going on. I wish I could just tell you, hey, it's this, go fix your chicken wing just by doing this. But it's just not that simple. There's other things that could be going on. So if you'd like me to take a look at your swing and tell you exactly what you need to do to fix it, then I would recommend checking out our 20-minute or 20-minute, the unlimited swing reviews, the online lessons. Now, I'm not sure if I have any spots available at the moment. Let me double check here. But I try to open up spots as much as I can. I don't always have the ability to do that just because, I have a limited number of students I can work with, but currently I don't have any spots available. So if you want to join my waiting list, so that way I can take a look at your swing and tell you exactly what you need to do, click the instruction tab, not the instruction tab, the get a review link at the top. That will take you to the swing review page. And then if you scroll down the bottom, you can join my waiting list. And then whenever I get spots available, I'll send out an email I'll have our team send out an email so that way you can get notified whenever I got spots available. All right, so let's keep going here. So Steve D says, due to physical limitations and weakness in my wrists and hands, using a 10-finger grip feels much more comfortable than other grips. Does this fit well with the Tasvigal system? Also, my fitting spec is the standard lie angle. I was told that longer irons, such as a 4-iron, longer for me, are sometimes fit as 1 degree flat. Do you agree with this? So let's talk about the grip thing first. So as far as grip is concerned, you can use a 10-finger grip, overlap grip, interlock grip, and do the Tasvigal system. From what it sounds like, from what you mentioned, a 10-finger grip probably is the way to go. It's easier. A 10-finger grip is good for those who have, are lacking some strength, some weakness, right? So like juniors typically do pretty well with 10-finger grips initially, and then they can move into, more interlock, overlap, that sort of thing kind of grip. Some women who maybe, don't have as strong of hands may benefit from that. People who are arthritic, all kinds of things like that. So I think that probably is a good grip for you to go, and you can do the Tasvigal system with any of those grips. That's 100% fine. In fact, there is a tour player, Scott Piercy, who has a 10-finger grip and is nailing the Tasvigal system. So yeah, 10-finger grip fits just fine into the Tasvigal system. As far as lie angle with your irons and things like that, that's something to talk to your club fitter about. Honestly, I'm not an expert in clubs and how they fit people and what should be flat and blah, blah, blah. Honestly, it's just not my expertise. So I don't really have an answer for you on the 4-iron, should it be flat or not. What I will say is that, when they're debating whether you need to flatten out your irons or whatever, it's typically it has more to do with how you're coming down, not necessarily the club. It's how you're bringing the club down. So if you're bringing the club down and the heel of the club is touching the ground first, right, and it's not coming in nice and flush, then you may need to have it a little bit flatter, right? And longer clubs will tend to be flatter on the lie angle, right? Because the longer it is, the more the ball is going out away from you, and the flatter it is. But as far as a 4-iron specific to you, that's just something you have to get professionally fitted for. So that's what I'd recommend doing. There isn't any way for me to know if you need to have 1 degree flat or whatever, just through office hours. So I wish I could help you there, but again, not really my expertise with the club fitting. And I would recommend talking to your actual club fitter about that. All right, so Frank B says, starting out with the courses. So I'm doing the long game lessons now, but have a general question. So I assume as the club shortens, the desired lag attenuates in a commensurate fashion, correct? Yeah, to a certain extent, but it's not something you're necessarily trying to do. You're not trying to get less lag with a wedge or more lag with a driver. That's just something that happens because of the club, right? So longer club, more momentum generally creates more lag. Longer club is generally going to have a flatter swing plane, which creates the appearance of more lag. So yes, but it's not something that you're trying to do. You're not trying to change the amount of lag. It's not something you're intentionally trying to do. It just happens because of the clubs. All right, so Oscar AM says, I have finished all the courses. Awesome. Where would you suggest I go next to ingrain the lessons? So, I mean, we have 20 some courses on the website. So if you finished all of them, then, I would make sure on video that you really are and just get more reps in. I guess I'm a little bit confused by the question. We have the putting system, we have the chipping mastery course, we have the wedge system, we have the shallowing course, we have the Tasvigal system. I would just look on video and make sure that you are nailing everything. And if you're not, then you need to go in and get more reps on those pieces. So Donnie says, a follow-up about Mevo, my goal with it is to see the ball flight direction and dispersion. Yeah, so I think that'd be good. There's several of them out there that are good. I think the SkyTrack is good. I think that the Mevo Plus is good. I've heard that the full swings are good. I saw that Foresight just came out with one that's a little bit more affordable. I don't know how much it is, but they came out with one that's a 2-camera. Their GC Quad is awesome. If it's anything like that, then I would say that that's pretty dang good too. So there's getting to be more and more options out there. Me personally, I'm not a fan of hitting into a screen. I don't like it. That's my personal preference. If I prefer to go to the range and see the ball flight, and having a Mevo Plus or whatever on the range to kind of see the numbers and things like that is good. But me personally, as an instructor, I have an understanding of what the ball is doing, why it's doing it, and things like that. I don't need a machine to tell me that my face is too closed or open typically. Now, if I'm working on something and I'm trying to change things and I'm not getting the results that I want, that's when I would get out the machine and be like, okay, what's really going on here? But typically, for me, the golf ball is the best coach. So having an understanding of ball flight laws and things like that is really the most beneficial thing. But even if you have one of those machines, you still have to have an understanding of those things, So, but if you're hitting into a screen and that's what you prefer, you like doing that, and having a machine to tell you what the dispersion is definitely helpful for sure. So, yeah. So Kevin says, in the setup, should you feel pressure or feel the ground with the inside of your feet? I mean, not necessarily. For me, I just feel it more pretty balanced between the toes and the heels. I'm not feeling it on the inside. Because imagine if it's on the inside of my feet, then my knees have to be kind of in like this, right? So I'm really kind of feeling it more, kind of evenly throughout my feet in my setup. Now I'm moving around my feet, right? But if I were to just not move around my feet and just stay completely still, it would be pretty even throughout the balls of my feet and my heels. It'd be pretty even on all sides. Now, but I'm moving around, right? And then as I start the swing, I'll have a little bit of pressure here. I transfer the pressure into my trail foot, and then I start the swing. But I'm not trying to feel it on the inside, because in order to do that, look what I have to do with my knees. And I don't want to kick my knees in, because then I can't really move, right? So it should be a fairly athletic and fluid thing that you're feeling in your feet. If you were a baseball pitcher, or excuse me, a batter, right? If I was standing there, I would kind of have my feet kind of moving around, but I wouldn't be way out on my toes. I wouldn't be in my heels. I probably have a little bit more on my trail side, but I'd be kind of moving back and forth, right? If you look at baseball hitters, they're not just like this. They're kind of moving around and staying athletic. That's what I would recommend doing in your golf swing as well. It's an athletic movement. All right, so Imran, I apologize if I'm mispronouncing that, says, what is the best way to push off your right foot? Are there any exercises that you could suggest? The step drill is probably the best drill for learning to push off of that trail side. I talked about that a little bit earlier. Not sure if you're around, but if you want to check out the step drill, it's in several videos throughout the website, but most notably, it's in the 20-minute distance fix. It's the sumo step drill. So if you want to check that out, click the instruction tab, the 20-minute distance fix, and then select week 1 in the 20-minute distance fix. You'll see the sumo step drill in there. All right, so Kevin says, got it. Thanks. No problem, Kev. All right, let's keep the questions coming here. We got 40 minutes or so left. So Gary C says, I'm 67 with degenerative disc disease in my lower back. I always have lower back pain, and it gets worse when I hit golf balls. I assume that exercising is my only hope. Do you have a program? Unfortunately, no, we don't. Fitness really isn't our expertise. So what I'd recommend doing is talking to your doctor and an expert about that disease. To be honest with you, I'm not an expert in the disease or anything like that. I would talk to your doctor, a medical professional of some sort, on things that you can do to help, if there are things that you can do. I honestly don't know if there is anything you can do. So that's what I'd recommend talking to you as a medical professional. All right, so Plum Blob 59 says, is shoulder tilt the same with the wedge versus a driver? No, typically you're going to have a little bit more with the driver, right? Because our stance is going to be a little bit wider. The ball is going to be more forward. We're going to typically be more tilted away. And then for an iron, our stance is a little bit narrower. The ball is more in the middle. I'm going to be a little bit less tilted away, generally. It's not a huge difference, right? It's not like you're going from, no tilt to tons of tilt. It's like driver, I have maybe 8, 9, maybe 10 degrees of tilt. And then with a wedge, I might have, 6 degrees of tilt or something like that. Not a huge difference, though. All right, so keep the questions coming here. Actually, while you guys are coming up with questions, I'm going to take a quick break. I actually just got back from a clinic and didn't have time to take a quick break. So I'll take a quick break. You guys get some questions in there, and I'll be right back. Sorry, I forgot I had it on mute. So Oscar M says, can you go over ball positions for the different mid irons? So honestly, you don't really need to change your ball position with the middle irons. I would just kind of use the same ball position. So generally straight down from the lead ear, right? So if I'm here would be my setup. If I go straight down from the lead ear, if I have my good spine tilt here, I hang the club from my lead ear, drop it straight down. That would be a pretty good ball position, which would put it slightly forward of the middle of your stance. I would use that for all mid irons. You don't need to change it around. So Rod S says, I have a decent weight transfer with my irons, but constantly hang back with my driver. Any help there? Work on the step drill, or look at, there might be a root cause as to why you're not shifting your weight forward with your driver. A big reason, hard to say without seeing your swing, but a big reason I see for people not shifting their weight with their driver is because they're coming over the top, right? So the reason for that is if I'm coming over the top, meaning I'm bringing this club down steep like this, and then I shifted my weight forward along with that, well, my club is going to bottom out too far toward the target, right? And I'm going to tend to chop down on the ball. So what a lot of people will do when they come over the top is they'll hang back on their back foot, so that way they don't chop down into the ball so much, right? So if that is what's going on, I'd work on getting the club to shallow out, so that way you can be incentivized to shift your weight to your lead side properly. And working through the 20-minute shallowing fix would be a good start. So check out the 20-minute shallowing fix if that is the case by clicking the instruction tab, Top Speed Golf System. 20-minute shallowing fix and work on some of them drills. Otherwise, the sumo step drill, the step drill from the 20-minute distance fix would also be a good way to work on shifting your weight with your driver. To find that, click the instruction tab, 20-minute distance fix, and then go to week 1 materials. You'll find the sumo step drill in there. All right, so Tom D says, is it okay to have the ball in the middle of the stance when hitting short irons like the 7-iron? That seems to be the only way I can keep from hitting it thin. Yeah, that's completely fine. Generally, for pretty much all my iron shots, I have it straight down from the lead ear, right? For my wedges, I put them about in the middle. That promotes just a steeper angle of attack and a little bit more shaft lean, which I want to have with my wedges. And then for like fairway woods, maybe a hybrid, maybe a longer iron if I'm trying to hit it higher. I'll put it, one ball forward of that straight down from the lead ear position. But there's not a huge variance between that. I just don't think it's necessary. I think a lot of people ask about the ball position thing because we've all seen that diagram from Ben Hogan's book, right? Where it's every single club in the bag has a different ball position and a different foot position. To me, that is way 99.99% of people do not need to pay any attention to that. I think that's way overthinking it, and that's what Ben Hogan did. He was a professional golfer. He overthought everything because that's what his job is, right? So more people are going to be successful just kind of sticking to a couple ball positions. With the irons, you can play the ball in the same spot every single swing. And really, you don't even have to do what I do, which is move the ball around a little bit. You can play the ball, any shot that's off the turf, you can play the ball. You can have 2 ball positions only if you want. Every shot that you hit off the turf, you can play it straight down from the lead ear somewhere in that area. If you prefer to have it in the middle, then that's great. If that's where you hit it better, right? And then for the driver, you want to have it a little bit more forward, right, to promote more of an upward angle of attack on the ball and hit it farther. So I wouldn't overcomplicate the ball position at all. All right, so Oscar M says, to clarify, I play with my wedges in the middle of my stance and the driver off my lead heel, off my front heel. What about the rest? Yeah, so I just talked about that. So driver off. I actually like the lead shoulder and not the heel because if you have a narrower stance, if that's what you hit the ball better with, then that's fine. I prefer a wider stance with the driver for most people. But if you hit the ball better with a narrower stance, we don't really want to put the ball where the lead heel is because that would probably be too far back in the stance. If you put it from the lead shoulder, that's typically going to be the best spot, whether you have a wide or a narrow stance. So lead shoulder and then straight down from the lead ear with most of your irons. With wedges, you can play it 1 ball back of that, which would pretty much be in the middle of the stance. For your maybe your upper irons and your fairway woods, your hybrids, your longer hybrids. If you have longer hybrids, that can be 1 ball forward of that. All right, so Charles says, I'm 64 years old, and I know that you don't know much about the aspect of weight training in golf, but I have a 180-pound weight set, modular, and a total gym. Would these help me gain better swing, and which would you suggest is the better setup? Honestly, Charles, I don't know. I honestly do not know. I think that working out, helping general health and fitness, keeping your flexibility and strength up definitely helps retain your speed, right? Which helps you play better golf. But as far as what you need to do and everything else, I do not know. So I would recommend working with a professional that does know what you need, a fitness professional, right? So me personally, I work with a fitness professional, right? Here in the Orlando area, because I don't know, what I'm doing. He is an expert in that. So, it's just like I wouldn't ask a fitness professional for golf advice, right? Because that's not their expertise. I wouldn't ask me for fitness advice because that's not my expertise. You know what I mean? So that's what I'd recommend. So I wish I could help you, but I have no idea. Well, I do know that it helps you. But if it's not something that's so degenerative that you can't swing a club, then it's not going to help you as much as you think, right? So I've gone on streaks where I've worked out like crazy, and to be honest with you, it really doesn't make much of a difference because I don't have anything that's now I have physical limitations and things like that. Like I'm not as flexible as Dustin Johnson, or or something like that. But it hasn't necessarily helped my golf game much, right? I've worked out hard and gained like a couple miles per hour before, but you got to think about how many hours I'm spending in the gym, right? To gain that couple miles per hour, which 5 to 10 yards with my drive, which isn't nothing. I'm not saying that that's nothing, but it's definitely something. But you think about the amount of time that I had to spend to make that happen. So literally hundreds of hours in the gym to make that happen. Now, not everyone's journey is the same, but that's basically what my journey was. And Clay has had the same experience, right? So everybody's a little bit different. Some people are going to get a lot from going to the gym, and some people are going to get not very much. But even if you did get a lot from going to the gym, you still had to spend a ton of hours. So if I think about the amount of hours that I spent in the gym working out, which I'm not saying you shouldn't work out. I'm saying it's definitely part of a healthy lifestyle. If your doctor says you should stay active and work out, then that's what you should do. But to look at it and think like this is going to make such a huge difference in my golf game, I would kind of keep temper your expectations. Like most likely it's not. You're going to be better off doing something like you think about the 20-minute distance fix and how many, it's the whole program itself is maybe, I don't know, 10 hours, maybe. And people are gaining 12 miles an hour on average, right? So basically 1 mile an hour per hour that you spend doing that. That's way more than you're going to get them by working in the gym, right? Now, if you're doing everything already that's in the 20-minute distance fix, you're already getting a huge turn. You're already getting tons of lag. You're already sequencing really, really well. You're already releasing everything really, really well. Then the gym may be where you get the most, but you're still not going to get a ton from doing that. So it's just kind of my 2 cents. That's my opinion. Everyone's going to have a different opinion. Some people are going to say the gym is everything. I don't buy into that, and that's just from my own personal experience and from what I've seen out of other people, right? So I'm not saying don't work out. I would just say if your goal is to play the best golf possible, right? I'd work out some, but I wouldn't expect to get huge gains from working out in the gym. So Richard H says Gary C might want to go to the website of exercises for injuries, a free site. Thanks, Richard, for sharing. Appreciate that. So Rod S says, can you go through the shallowing fix steps using your driver? Yes, absolutely. We recommend you kind of start out with it, doing an iron. But yeah, you can work through it with every single club in the bag. It's going to be a little bit harder with the higher lofted clubs. You don't really need to with the higher lofted clubs. I mean, odds are if you're getting it with like your middle iron, like a 7-iron or something like that, it's not going to be a problem with the lower lofted clubs. The reason why I say that is that you're not going to get a ton of curvature with a wedge, right? There's a reason why you can slice your driver, 50 yards, but it'd be pretty tough to slice a wedge 50 yards. I'm sure it's been done, but you would have to have quite a bit of speed to be able to do that. Like Bubba Watson did it in the Masters, a long time ago. So, but yeah, so driver, because there's less loft there, it's easier to make the ball curve, to make the spin axis tilt, which makes the ball curve. But yeah, you go through it with the iron first, because the reality is if you can't do it with your 7-iron, you're probably not going to be able to do it with your driver. So do it with your middle iron, and then try to do it with your driver, from there. All right. So Charles says, beautiful lady there, Q. I think it's a Sheila. It's a Hazel. Yep. She's my office buddy in here. I could see her looking like a Sheila, though. I get that. All right, so Oscar M says, Charles, my BB partner, took yoga 2 or 3 days a week and added the flexibility, breathing, balance. They added 20 yards to his game. Great. Yeah, that's awesome. Some people, it can make a huge difference. If you're someone who is just wildly unflexible, right, and then you work and do do that stuff, and it really opens you up, then heck yeah, that can make a big difference. But for the average person, it usually just doesn't make that big of a difference. So Jim says, what is the best drill to get the lag in your swing? So what I'd recommend doing is working through the top speed lag course. Work through those drills. I wish I could tell you this one drill, I guarantee you, is going to get you lag, but it's different for everybody. If there was one drill that did it, then the top speed lag course would just be one video, and that's it. You got to get, everyone's got little different things why they struggle with lag or why it is. So working through a course like we have laid out in the top speed lag course it's gonna help you to kind of work through that. So that's what I'd recommend doing, is working through the top speed lag course. To get to that course, click the instruction tab, top speed golf system, top speed lag, and get started with the drills in there. So Charles says, Sheila is Australian for girl, and thanks for the great answer and your insight. No problem, Charles. Yeah, I actually didn't know that. Sheila's Australian for girl. All right. I thought you were doing that thing. My buddy actually does this thing where whenever we go somewhere, somebody has a dog, he tries to guess the name of the dog, and I thought that's what you were doing. Funny is sometimes he's right. So I thought you were trying to guess that her name was Sheila. But I can see that. I could totally see her name being Sheila. That'd be a good name for like an Australian Shepherd, probably. Female one. All right, let's keep the questions coming. We got 20 minutes or so left, so keep them coming. All right, so Paul S says, hey, Q, thank you for your time. I have an issue with understanding the movement in the second drill of the 20 minutes shallow where you work the ball right and hook left. Any tips for feeling that movement on the swing? Yeah, so if you keep watching the video, not sure if you watched all the video, Paul, but basically the first thing you want to do is just try to swing in to out, right? So try to swing. If you imagine, if you're right-handed, you imagine you're standing at home plate right here. I would try to imagine that the face is really closed and that you're swinging the club down the first baseline. That's what I would try to do first. Now, if you try to do that and you're not able to, I would go to plan B. So plan B is putting an obstacle in your way. So Clay grabs like an impact bag or a big box or something like that and place that in your way, somewhere, if you imagine if this ball was the impact bag, right? And this ball was the object ball that I'm trying to hit, right? If I swing steep and over let me put it where you can see it. If I swing steeply and over the top, I'm going to hit that ball, right? So basically, I'm putting it in a place to where it forces me to swing from the inside. Otherwise, I would hit it, right? So having that mental obstacle there can really help you to get things moving in the right direction. We call this a constraint, like a swing constraint, right? So that'd be plan B. Plan C would be the wall drill. So that's where we go up to the top, and then I'd almost imagine you have your heels a foot or two away from a wall, and then I would imagine that club head stays on the wall all the way down as long as you can, and then you swing through. So that will help you to get that club swinging from the right. So that's what I'd recommend doing. In order to get the ball to start to the right and hook to the left, you got to get the club shallowing out. So first, just try to shallow out the club, right? Try to swing down the right field line. If that doesn't work, then use the constraint. If that doesn't work, then do the wall drill. That's what Clay talks about in that 20-minute shallowing fix video, that drill number 2. All right, so Imran C says, I use the hit a lot of fades, or I used to hit a lot of fades. With the top speed course, I'm hitting nice draws now, but having a hard time fading. Any advice? So when you're hitting a draw, the face is closed to the path, right? So the face, meaning the direction the club face is pointing, is closed to the direction that you're swinging, right? So if you want to hit a fade, you got to do the opposite. You need to have the face open to your path. So the way that I recommend hitting a fade is we still want to shallow out the club, all right? But instead of letting that face kind of turn over and getting that face closed and hitting the draw, what I would feel like is that you're shallowing out the club, but then essentially you're kind of holding that face open as you're coming through contact. So you're not letting it roll over, right? You're basically holding that face open. So when you go through to a full finish, instead of letting your arms kind of roll over and having the club face pointing down, and I'll use this angle finder here so you can kind of see. And I'm exaggerating, but instead of kind of coming through and feeling like that club face is turned over like that, what I would try to feel like is that you're still shallowing it out, swinging from the inside, but that face is more like that. It's more staying open. And then that will get the ball to curve to the right. So you'll want to aim to the left, shallow out the club, and then let that ball fade off to the right. So practice that a little bit. And if you want to learn to hit draws and fades and work the ball and things like that, what I recommend you do is you take our ball striking masterclass course. So this is a course that we offer every month or two. So be on the lookout in your email over the next several weeks. I think we are offering it here next week, maybe, or the end of this week. I can't remember. But we offer enrollment into this course. It's an online course. It's not something you have to come do. It's an online course, just like the Top Speed Golf system. But it's just not included with the membership just because of all the work and everything that we had to do to do with it. So it's a course that we offer every now and then. So if you want to check it out, be on the lookout in your email for an opportunity to sign up. But in that course, that's where we teach you how to hit draws and fades and things like that. But for a crash course, essentially, you're doing the same thing you're doing with the draw. Instead of with the draw, you're closing the face. With the fade, you're holding that face open and letting that ball kind of curve to the right. All right, so Dan says, did a round today, less than 40 degrees, and course was empty. Focus on my drawing drive, usually hitting 2 drives each hole. Finally getting a fairly consistent draw to the center, mainly landing 15 to 20 feet apart. Still getting some pushes to the right, but I suspect I'm hitting more towards the heel when that happens, using foot powder to see hits. If you hit it off the heel, the ball will tend to not draw as much. It will actually tend to fade more, draw less. So that would definitely be an explanation there. Thanks for sharing, Dan. All right, let's keep going here. So Chuck Spencer says, I've started the 20-minute distance fix and in the second week now, but my best speeds are when I manage to not be swinging outside, and which is my main problem. Should I try to fix my over-the-top problem first with drills before continuing with speed drills? My top speeds are 116 when I'm inside, but inside out, but 95 to 80 when not shallowing. I would venture to say that you're not swinging 116. You wouldn't have that big of a discrepancy between inside and outside. My guess is that you're swinging very similarly to inside and outside. It's just that you're getting a misreading, or you're looking at the ball speed and not the club head speed, would be my guess. You wouldn't have a 30-mile-an-hour difference between the two. That's not something I've ever seen. I suppose it's possible, but very highly unlikely. I would just look at your swing, on video, look at it indoors and outdoors and see what the difference is. My guess is there probably isn't much of a difference there, which is why you wouldn't have a 30-mile-per-hour. I would say it's either misreading or you're looking at ball speed of 116 and not the club head speed. But it's up to you. If you want to work on, if you're coming over the top, then I'd recommend the 20-minute shallowing fix. If you want to do that, if you want to work on distance, then work on the 20-minute distance fix. It's really up to you. We have these programs. It's kind of up to you what program you want to use. Now, generally, I recommend most people work on getting some distance, right? Because that's going to get you. That's really the highest correlation to lowering your handicap. Most people's goal is to lower their handicap, right? So there's no higher correlation to lowering your handicap than distance. Now, if the biggest distance issue is because you're coming over the top and cutting across the ball, and that's why you're not getting any distance, then the 20-minute shallowing fix might be the best bet for you. But if the main reason why you're not getting any distance because you don't have any speed, then the 20-minute distance fix is going to be the right fit for you. So you kind of have to make that decision yourself. If you want to work with an instructor to kind of tell you exactly what you need to do, I'd recommend doing our unlimited swing reviews. But beyond that, you kind of have to be your own coach to a certain extent. So Tom D says, "Are you happy with the perfect practice putting mat that's in the background? Does that mat stay smooth?" So this is actually not a perfect practice putting mat; it's a generic one. I'm not very happy with it, if I'm being honest. It's kind of a piece of junk. I don't know if that's because it's generic. I don't know if basically, you put it in there, it doesn't roll, it gets stuck in there, which is annoying. So it kind of defeats the purpose of the whole thing to begin with, is for it to roll back to you. I do like the lines and everything on here. It does not lay down very smooth. It has lumps in it and things like that. It doesn't roll very straight. Like it's smooth, but it doesn't roll very, very straight. My carpet is not slanted a bunch. It's just because there's all these runs. So I wouldn't really recommend this to somebody. It was a gift, but it's not. If the perfect practice thing is anything like this, I don't know. I think those things are over $100. I would never pay $100 for that. I hope it wasn't $100. I hope it was, $40 or something like that. It's probably about what it's worth, maybe $40. So Frank B says, "I agree, Chuck. I just started as well, and I want to increase my speed once I'm swinging properly, not while I'm still swinging incorrectly. So I started at the beginning." So here's the thing about that. If you are, waiting to do speed training until your swing is perfect, that day is never, ever going to come. Never in a million years is that ever going to come. Because no matter how much you work on your swing is never going to be where it needs to be, right? So I don't recommend waiting for that time, because like I said, there's no higher correlation to lowering your scores than speed, right? So that I mean, outside of the 20-minute shallowing fix, I wouldn't do any. I would do one of two things. I'd either do the 20-minute shallowing fix, or I would do the 20-minute distance fix first, and then whatever you do after that, whatever you did first, I would do the other one second. So, like I said, if you're losing distance because you're coming over the top and steep and chopping down the ball, then go to the 20-minute shallowing fix. But if you're losing distance because because of lack of speed, you just don't have as much speed as you need, then you need to go to the 20-minute distance fix, even though your swing may not be perfect, right? Trust me, my swing isn't perfect. And I went through the 20-minute distance fix and gained, about 10 miles per hour. And I play a lot better now, even though my swing isn't perfect, because hitting the golf ball farther is much better. I would much rather hit the ball 30 yards farther and hit, 4 less fairways per round, because you're going to, fairways are a little bit overrated. As long as the ball's still, as long as you're not hitting OB on every single shot, that's different. But, as long as you're keeping it in play, it'd be much better to hit it farther. So Bill S says, "I read that the speed stick requires you to swing both left-handed and right-handed, but Clay's 20-minute distance fix doesn't. Should a right-hander also be training left-handed, and if so, why?" It can help, but it's not, so the reason why the 20-minute distance fix does not have you swinging left-handed and right-handed is because we don't believe that it's a part of the 80-20 principle. So what that means is the Pareto principle is that you're going to get most of your results from a small number of things, right? So getting a bigger turn, getting a good weight shift, getting some lag and releasing the lag, like those are all things, and then swinging with 100% effort. Those are all the things that we know give you big gains, and we've seen it, right? Swinging as hard as you can, left-handed, right-handed, that can help, but it's not. It's a small. It's one of the many things that you can do. They're going to give you a little bit, so it does help, but it's not something that I would expect, to be the huge difference maker, right? The difference maker is getting a big turn, getting high hands, getting using the ground properly, getting lag and releasing that lag, swinging as hard as you can. Those are the small number of things. Don't overcomplicate it as the small number of things that you can do to get big gains. Once you've done all those things and you're doing all those things really well, that's when you go toward, okay, I'm going to do the speed sticks and I'm going to swing backwards and forwards and do all this stuff. That's what I'm going to do, whatever, some other kind of speed program. But the 80-20 is what you want to make sure that you're doing first. So Mitch C says, I have a perfect practice Mac. It stays flat, but I had to iron it when I first took it out of the box. Yeah. Thanks, Mitch, for sharing. Yeah, I didn't iron it, but I suppose I could. So Tom D says, thank you for the info about the putting mat. No problem, Tom. Frank B says, mine is far from perfect. It's over the top. It's over the top and flicky. Yeah. So, like I said, if you're coming over the top and that's why you're losing speed, then definitely the 20-minute shallow fix may be the best thing for you to do. So Frank B says, cool, thanks, no problem. Chuck Spencer, okay, thanks, no problem. So Dave S says, with my driver, I've been told that my hips need to move forward and my head needs to stay back. Can you talk about drills for accomplishing this? That is the stable fluid spine course. So that's basically what the stable fluid spine is, right? So at address, we've got some spine tilt, right? As we go up to the top, we're going to retain that overall angle of our body. And then as we go up into impact, our hips are going to move forward a little bit as we shift our weight, and our head is going to it's going to move forward some, but not as much. And then we're going to get more spine tilt, right? So the stable fluid spine course, those are all the drills that you work through to get what your friends are talking about. To get to the stable fluid spine course, click the instruction tab, Top Speed Golf System, stable fluid spine course. So Dana says, I don't know, accuracy helps a lot too. See many an old guy right down the middle doing decent golf. Yeah, I mean, accuracy is definitely, I'm assuming you're talking about my comment about hitting less fairways. All right, well, that old guy, whoever it is, that's staying right down the middle, but not hitting it anywhere, right? If they played me, they would be at a huge disadvantage because I'm going to be hitting the ball 100 yards past them, right? So sure, it may not be straight, but I'm going to have such a huge advantage. It's not even funny. So it's just so much easier to play better golf. If I need to, that doesn't mean that I'm going to hit a driver on every hole, but if someone's hitting it 200 yards and they're down the middle, right? Well, I mean, I could hit my 5-iron down the middle all day, no problem at all. Or I could hit my driver and hit it 100 yards past them, right? So distance is a huge advantage in golf. There is a reason why, if you look at the best players in the world, there are no short knockers, right? Kevin Kisner even talked about it in his comments about the Masters, right? He basically is like, I'm never going to be able to win this because I'm not long enough, right? Kevin Kisner needs a course to be tight and short, right, for him to have a really good chance to win, right? Or it needs it to be match play, right? It's one or the other, right? He's most likely never gonna win at Augusta because it's too long, right? It plays into the hands of the longer hitters. You can spray it around a little bit there, and it's long, so it favors, everything kind of favors the longer hitters for the most part. Now, if you're playing a par 3 course, right, those old guys will probably take my lunch money. You know what I mean? But that's not usually what you're doing. So yeah, if you're playing like a little short course or something like that, then sure. But someone who doesn't hit the ball very far is going to have a huge disadvantage to someone who hits it farther than that. So Oscar M says, now that I finished the Toss Golf system, sometime I hit it further than before. How do you work on distance control with your irons? So what I would do is you got to figure out what your distances are with all your irons. And then the way that I control the distance, so find what your stock number is. So what a full swing is with the full length of the club. So I would go do an exercise to try. So get some TrackMan time, get on a simulator or, go to a range, use a rangefinder, do something. And, or, when you're playing golf, if you're on the 150 yard marker, do your best, hit whatever, and kind of keep track with that. So have a general understanding of what your stock shot is. And then the way that I regulate distance, if I'm between clubs, I just take the higher club and I choke up on it an inch, right? So let's say, I got 185 yards, right? Well, my 7-iron is 180, so I could muscle up a 7-iron, or my 6-iron is about 195, right? So what I would do is I would just take my 6-iron and I would just choke up on it, right? Choke up on it an inch, and that's going to get me pretty close to that 185 number, right? I could try to juice a 7-iron, just try to swing harder and hit it harder to hit it farther. But the only way I would do that is if I wanted to hit it higher for some reason, where I needed to hit it high, because I'd much rather just take my normal tempo, normal swing that's going to get me the best contact and make sure that I'm going to make good contact than to try to muscle up one and risk making poor contact and then ending up, 20 yards short or something like that. But if I had to hit it up over a tree or I need to hit it high for some other reason, then sure, I might hit my 7-iron. But if all things equal, if I'm just trying to hit at the number, I'm just going to choke up on the club. So that's how I recommend kind of. So figure out what your stock numbers are, and then from there, to go down a club, just use the highest club, but then choke up on it to take a little bit off of it. Everybody's a little bit different. Some people like to hit it easier. To me, that's harder to do. I like to have the same kind of, stock kind of rhythm and tempo and everything, as opposed to having a slower tempo. So that's just the way I roll, but some people might be a little bit different. All right. Thanks everybody for joining me. Go ahead and wrap it up right there. So we'll be back here tomorrow again, 3 p.m. Eastern time, because tomorrow's the second day of the clinic. So starting a little bit later after the clinic. So tomorrow, 3 p.m. Eastern time. Everybody have a great rest of your day, and I will talk to you all next time.